Hey, Readily Besties, welcome back to the Writing with Anna New podcast, where we talk about all things writing. In today's episode, I am so excited. I hope you guys know how much I love talking about characters. And today, we're going to be talking about characters. I just love characters. That's like the reason I write. Anyways, I'm going to be talking about how to create characters that your audience and your readers will love. And honestly, who loves a good character? I can list off like a million of my favorite characters. And I'm going to be giving you guys 3 of my best sort of tips that I have for you guys to kind of just think about and hopefully implement into your writing to allow, your story to have a lot more depth, but also kind of help, people who read your book to actually fall in love with your characters and make them care in a way that also makes you care. Obviously, you're going to care about your characters, but make them care even more. So let's go ahead and get into the first tip. So the first tip is to make them realistically unrealistic. And I know that's kind of, ironic and it doesn't really go well, but it's kind of to make them different, but in a way make them relatable. And I guess I can only really explain this through an example. You guys know Kaz Brecker from, Six of Crows, the duology. It's so good. If you haven't read it, I don't know what you're doing. But Kaz, Leigh Bardugo, she created this character, Kaz, in a way that he's so unique and distinct and different, yet we can still find qualities within him that we relate to. So we don't relate to Kaz Brecker as a murderous, a murderous mastermind who runs a gang. Like, no, we relate to him as like a misunderstood child who just like tries so hard and never succeeds, and he's just misunderstood. And he's just a desperate person, and I feel like so many people can relate to him. Again, it's not, so that's kind of like what I mean by they are unrealistically realistic. And I don't know, I feel like having that sort of um, understanding that you don't have to create a character that has to, fit your demographic of like your readers. You don't have to create a 18-year-old girl for me to relate to that character. Do you know what I mean? So making sure that you find very specific, realistically unrealistic things, and I hope you guys understand what I mean by that, but just like very specific things that you can see, within yourself in that character. So for example, make them have faults, make them have different quirks, different things about their personality that's weird or different or just like quirky. Obviously don't make them, that quirky, like relatable. No, no. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, again, I feel like I can only explain this in an example, but my favorite character, Red, who's in my project Ghost, she has this sort of quirk that I think I can relate to this sort of tip with, is that like when she's having panic attacks or just like random episodes of just like freaking out, really, she has this sort of habit where she sees herself from a bird's eye view perspective and she can see what she's doing. And I feel like you don't have to technically relate to that specifically, that specific thing that you see yourself as a bird's eye view to relate to this character and end up, caring for this character. No. You maybe just have a dissociating sort of habit as well that can be, linked to that. And I feel like using specific examples, really do help. And I think also with that, foiling, if you guys don't know what foiling is, it's basically where your character has like a motive, or like maybe another character foils another character, and it basically like accentuates the character and their characteristics and like who they are as a character. So for example, you can always use another character to kind of pull out the realistic qualities, or sorry, relatable qualities, for example, within that character. But that's kind of more of a method, not so much like what I'm talking about right here. But yeah, make sure you just, think about very specific things that can make your character relatable, but they don't have to be, so broad, so, ridiculously boring in order for your character to be relatable. And I guess that's kind of what I'm trying to say. For example, I guess with Kaz, I'll just quickly talk about it, his sort of motive basically is to, I guess, money, but there's sort of like a deeper meaning behind, him wanting to get money, and that is to, secure Inej and her freedom and also protect other people. And that can be an example as a foil as well. I don't know what I'm saying right now, but yeah, with Kaz, I guess he does have specific things. Oh, wait, what am I talking about? What am I saying? Sorry, my brain's going crazy. It's actually one specific thing that I love about Kaz and what Leigh Bardugo really like does well. His hands. He always wears gloves. Sorry. He always wears gloves, right? What does that tell us about the character? And how is that somehow relatable? Because hands, I guess for me, I would find that relatable by like showing like the sort of uneasiness of being, exposed and vulnerable to something that's like his hands. And of course it has deeper meanings, but I don't really spoil too much about anything. I feel like I've already spoiled stuff. I'm sorry. But yeah, so like that's that sort of really weird specific thing of him never taking off his gloves can be somehow realistic and interesting and make us feel intrigued about your character. And I guess this really leads well into the second tip, that is to make your readers care about your characters. So of course the whole episode is about how to make your readers love your characters. So first we talked about make them relatable. Now we're going to be talking about make your characters actually care. Oh no, sorry, make your readers care about your characters. So of course this is done well with tragic pasts, just like Katzbrecker. I feel like he's just gonna be the example in today's episode. But yeah, he has a very tragic past. But also what I want to kind of talk about with this is the fact that you shouldn't make their tragic past so like you shouldn't expose it too quickly, so you don't reveal it straight away. So you need to pull your audience in with what they're doing, what they look like, their sorts of who they are through the plot. But then, of course, their backstories, they're going to be a bit different, and you're going to have to kind of tie that within the story in order to deepen your character and allow your audience to actually understand why they are who they are on the like outside, on the surface, right? So I'm trying to like read all my notes. I'm sorry, bear with me. I write really messily when I like prepare for these episodes, but I'm trying to really just figure out what I'm trying to say. Oh, yes. Yes, make sure your characters have a motive. So of course, Kaz, as I kind of said about before, his motive, I guess, is money. And we think it's money to begin with, because he's just like, he's obsessed with money, he's a money grabber. But no, as we, start to learn about his past and, his brother Jody and like everything. Oh, it's gonna make me emotional. I love Kaz so much. But like we get to actually understand why he's like that and why he wants money, like why his motive is money. It's actually not money. It's, to secure Inej, freedom. It's to protect his found family that he's created. Like you kind of hit your audience with a final blow sort of thing. You know what I mean? And don't reveal it too quickly. But again, of course, sad, miserable, morally grey characters or just like people with tragic pasts, it's a easy route to kind of make your characters care, basically. Okay, the third tip, we are on a roll, is to make your characters care. And of course, the last tip was make your readers care about your characters, but this tip is to make your characters care. Make them care. And I guess this kind of is a reiteration of making sure your characters have real motives. And in a way, your audience needs to be rooting for your main character, right? They need to be like, yes, I don't necessarily agree with what you're doing, but your past and like how I relate to you and like, your motives, I go for you, like you can do it. And I feel like, yeah, it could be like their missions, their values, love, or like characters, following them throughout this story, throughout this journey. You need to get your audience to actually be rooting for them and actually be in a place that they love your characters in a way that they just like want to, see them succeed and see them find and grasp and achieve their goals sort of thing. So again, as I said about Kaz, we were rooting for him in his missions and like in all the characters' missions basically because we loved them. Like they were literally murdering people. I don't know if yeah, they probably murdered a lot of people, but like, they were doing bad illegal stuff, but we were still rooting for them because they all had their own specific, characteristics, specific motives, specific things that we related to and saw ourselves in. So we were just like, we want to see you guys succeed because y'all are cool. That's the vibe we're going for. Okay. So yeah, we need to go deeper here and actually find a way to make your audience, sorry, root for your characters. So I guess like thinking deeply about, the journey of the characters, what you're going to reveal, throughout the story, and of course, make it very wholesome at the end. So again, like make sure your, audience really do understand your characters at the end of the story so that they love them, and I feel like feeding them little like crumbs throughout the story, like how we did with Kaz. Like the first page I saw Kaz, I'm just like, he's kind of cool but crazy, but now I'm like, wow, he's so cute, like I root for you, and just like how he is with Inej and just like how cute he can't express his feelings, those sorts of things. Like think about it. I know it's kind of hard, and it usually does come naturally to you. But yeah, just find out like with these 3 tips what can work for your story. So I guess the 3 sorts of things you got to think about when you're thinking about like what sort of things will allow my readers to like my characters, think about maybe can you relate? Can you allow your readers to relate to this character? Can you allow your readers to emphasize with these characters? Or lastly, and I guess this kind of goes chronologically with the tips, is that number 3, can you get your reader to actually root for your characters, right? Okay. I hope that kind of made sense. This episode was a bit of a long one. Sorry about that. But yeah, I'm just so excited for you guys with your characters. Again, I'm so sorry if you could not understand anything my brain is saying. It's not been a good week. Like if you listen to my last episode, my brain was also like crazy and I've just like not been in a good space. My head's been crazy. But again, I love characters so much, and just yeah, try to find ways to make your characters someone worth caring for. And I think like the first tip particularly speaks a lot to me with making characters very specific and using very specific examples, specific phobias and like habits. And that's why I love character developing, because you can really like pick little things you see in other characters maybe that you read, or pick things that you do as a person and like put them into your character, and they're so specific, and like it just makes me so happy whenever I read, like, for example with Kaz and him not having his gloves. Like I think that's so cool. And of course it's not cool because he's like, it's trauma, but like you get what I mean. Like that sort of stuff really builds and layers your characters so well. Anyways, thank you for listening to my rambling. I'm not sure why you're still here, but thank you. Anyways, I love you guys so much. I wish you luck with your characters. Give them all a big hug for me. And I hope you don't give them too much trauma. Anyways, I love you guys, and I hope to see you in my next episode. Bye.